Today, what I want to go over is a proven step that I've done for myself and many clients that I work with to actually begin the process of setting a vision up. Once you set up the vision, understanding what it is, what sort of objective you want to go with it, how do you know you're picking the right kind of vision and goal for yourself? And then from that point on, how do you begin to build confidence and to stack momentum in your favor? So that's what we're going to go over today. To get started, we're going to first need to understand what kind of vision do we want to set for ourselves. And the way to do that, by the way, don't mind the misalignment of it. I just tend to, for some reason, always start a little bit later into the sheet of paper. Anyway, so the first thing you want to do is create a vision. So how do you create a vision? So the first thing you understand is that it has to come from a place of service, genuine service for others. Now, why is that? Well, simply because when you use other motivations, let's say you're using motivations of money, success only, like only success, recognition, glory, women, whatever, anything that is more of the vanity. And you can think of it as this: whenever you pursue those types of ambitions, at first you might find it to be working and it's a good fuel for you. And I'm speaking from personal experience, there's going to come a point in time when you're feeding it and it doesn't quench itself. You're not satisfied no matter how many times you acquire it, no matter how many times you get that itch scratched, it won't go away. And so you need to keep getting more, and then eventually you end up in this state of feeling empty. And once you get into that state of feeling empty, now you're going to run into this whole issue all over again, where you're thinking, what am I doing this for? Why did I even get started? And to avoid that drama altogether, from the very beginning, get into a state of giving to others that will more so, when you do it, fill you with light, fill you with joy and excitement, and that you're doing something for the greater good and not just for your own hedonistic pleasures. Now, the next thing to understand when it comes to figuring out a vision or purpose for yourself is that this needs to create excitement within you. Almost as if the minute you think about it, you are charged with energy and ready to take on the day. And so first, you need to feel excited. When you feel excited, you're going to get this immediate brainstorming in terms of how you want to get things set up, how do you want to get things done, and you're almost overwhelmed with so much of it that you don't even know where to begin, which is what, that's what I help people with, essentially, or organizing their schedule, organizing their life, getting their thoughts in the right state of mind in order to actually either take advantage of the vision they already have in mind or be prepared to, when it does come along your way, then you can seize the opportunity. But either way, it needs to excite you, fill you with energy. So we covered the first basic idea is that in order for you to pick out a vision that's going to be fulfilling for you, it needs to be an act of service, so giving to other people. And then the next thing is this idea needs to excite you, very, very deeply excite you, to where when you wake up in the morning, you're full of energy and ready to take on the day. But now the next thing is understanding the limiting beliefs and the fear of failure. Now, first you have to understand what it is, what's going on. Why is it that there's a lot of repetitive thoughts happening in your mind that are causing you to just always feel stunted and halted and not able to move forward? What happens is that the reason why oftentimes that you are stuck in a place of indecision, doubt, fear of failure, judgment, rejection, all those things. The reason why you tend to stay in those positions is because there was a particular story that you're repeating to yourself over and over and over that has began to shape the way you see things in your world, in your life. And you will begin to pick them out and validate them and prove your story correct. You don't mean to do this, but it's just simply how the brain works. And so I'm going to illustrate it in a drawing just to give you a better idea. And so, for example, you have a story that you tell yourself. This story could be anything like people always run away from me. Girls aren't attracted to me ever. They always leave me and they always cheat on me. Number 3 would be anytime I try to pursue anything, I fail at it right away. Or I'm just not a good I'm not a good learner. I don't learn very well. I'm very slow. I'm very dumb. It's the story that you've packaged. But the story is broken up into two pieces. Stories are made up of two things. Number one, you have emotions. So what feelings do you feel? Do you feel anxiety? Do you feel stress? Do you feel excitement, joy? What emotion is beginning? And by the way, I mean it in regards to that moment where you feel the minute you start thinking about something you want to do in your life, you feel halted right away. And that sort of what is causing that break, that halt in your progress. The emotion that comes up. When you realize what emotion comes up, you can then follow its trail. Typically, it will flow upward. Now, it can also work the other way around. You feel an emotion, you feel anxiety. Anxiety leads you to the brain. You sit with the thought in your mind. Well, what are you thinking about now? Well, you're thinking about scenarios that bring anxiety. Or maybe you think back of a memory. You dig back. Dig back to a memory of when you had anxiety. Maybe it was you presented in front of the class, people laughed. Regardless of what it is, you now have an image, right? Another way to look at it is an image. So you have the thought, you have the image that creates this pattern of loop. And when you have, also the other way around as well, so even when you have a thought, an anxious thought, an image, something that brought anxiety to you, you bring it down to the belly and you feel the emotion. And once you feel the emotion, it comes right back up to the top and it creates the spin. Once you have that spin going, a story is put together. And that story now is going to be something you reference. And it's going to be the reason that you start to feel like any opportunity that you can maybe take a step forward, test your courage, test your skill, you can't do it. You can't do it. Because what you see now is just threat. That's what you see. And so typically what I teach, and by the way, this was a personal struggle for me for such a long time. And once I understood this, apart from the other sections of my Rule 3 method, I was able to literally go from a high school dropout. I dropped out of high school to pursue jiu-jitsu, get a black belt in jiu-jitsu, compete at a high level, win provincial championships, compete in Sweden under Team Canada, take third at the World Championships, then open a business, make 6 figures in our very first year. It really, once I got the idea, it just propelled my life in such a direction I have no idea. And so what I teach is you're building a foundation. Every single time you think and you reflect on a story, and again, the story doesn't have to be, like they're not all bad stories, but we just tend to reflect a lot on bad stories. There was actually a stat that said that 95% of your thoughts are repeated. And out of the 95% of those thoughts, 80% of them are negative. It's just a natural design that we have as human beings, but we can tweak it. You can tweak it. Every time you think those thoughts, you're building a foundation. At first, it might not feel like a big deal, but over time, these are bricks, by the way. I'm trying to draw out a brick. Every single time you build it, you are stacking it, and stacking it. You do that for months and years. You now have built yourself this resistance that at any point, something in the outside world aligns with that story, you're going to reject it. You're going to push it away. You're going to say, I don't want to deal with it. And so what do? How do you tweak and change it? The first step towards changing it is, of course, you have to have a burning desire to change it. If you don't have a burning desire, and this is just something that you're kind of interested in changing, maybe just a little bit, not a big deal, it's not going to work as well, because you're going to have to stay consistent with it for a very long period of time to actually see anything come of it. And so number one, you have to have a burning desire. And once you decide, you know what, I'm done with it, I don't want to deal with this story anymore, it's not who I want to be anymore, then you can start to see change. You can feel the energy the minute you pronounce it to yourself, and even saying it openly, because oftentimes we don't want to say it. You could think it, but it's a different word to actually put it out into the world and say, I'm done with this, I want to change. It's totally, totally different. But you have the first thing, burning desire. The next thing is building awareness. So you have to build awareness. How do you do that? Journaling. Now, when you journal, you don't have to put it on like a notebook. I personally have it in a notebook, but I tend to bounce around. Sometimes I like it in my notebook. Sometimes I like to put it on my phone because it's quicker to access. So nowadays you have a lot of technology, and so it's also nice to have it with you 24/7 to reference, but you have to journal. Why is that? The reason why you want to journal is because it'll take you outside of your mind. In other words, it'll separate you from your story just a little bit. You'll be able to observe it from a distance. I might be a little bit in the way on the last one. But outside of your mind, or you'll be able to observe it from a distance. You need to see it from afar, because oftentimes when we think these stories for such a long period of years, it starts to feel very difficult and you start to feel like you're attacking yourself. And that goes to say, by the way, when you do this, you have to be in a state of what I say, curiosity and adventure. Curiosity and adventure. And on top of that, what's going to be a layer behind it is grace and mercy. You have to have this peace towards yourself. You cannot be aggressive. You cannot self-hate. The minute you do that, what's going to happen, you'll notice it, is the ability to change just runs away and hides. It hides in its shelters. So you have to be compassionate, take it a little bit slow, encourage it to come forward. And the way you're going to understand that is by, again, be curious and adventurous. Anytime you go out, let's say on an adventure into the woods with your buddies, you're just going off. Now, can that be dangerous? Yeah, probably. But that little bit of danger is what creates the excitement, the allure. You don't panic too much about it. You get to just go out and have a good time. And so that's how you want to explore your mind. Once you have a journal, then you're going to have to write down when that moment comes, when you have those thoughts of a better future for yourself, or figuring out what it is you are meant to do in this world. What is your purpose? What is your meaning? When that comes up, what is happening to you? What's happening to you in thought? What's happening to you in emotions? And journaling, by the way, is not a trivial thing. It actually shows to reduce your stress levels. And I think I read something that said it was at around 20 to 25% reduction in stress simply by journaling. And all the clients that I have them run through it, they feel an immediate difference just by doing it a couple days. So it really is something very, very powerful. So what you're going to do is you're going to journal. And the length you're going to journal for is at around, I usually say 2 to 3 weeks. Now, why do you want to do it for 2 to 3 weeks? Simply because if you try to do it for a couple days, it's just hard to catch. You can't find it. You have to prove, you have to collect data. And so by doing it repeatedly over the course of your weeks, you can actually start to notice a pattern attributed to what is going on. What is it that you're having? What emotion are you feeling? And after the 2-3 week period, what are you supposed to do then? At that point now, once you've collected the information, by the way, simply by building the awareness, you're going to feel a lot better. Because when you separate it from yourself, you're going to realize that this isn't you. It's just something that's been happening that you've participated in, but it's by no means something that you're permanently supposed to be. And it's something you can change. And that's something that's just a byproduct of journaling the process for the next couple of weeks. But once you do that, how do you begin to change it? How do you rewire yourself? You have to create a new story. Again, if our thoughts are mostly repetitive, and if out of those repetitive thoughts, most of them can be negative, those are stories that we are repeating. And the way you're going to shift that is by repeating and reminding yourself that the stories you're telling is what's going to shape the world you live in. And so by understanding that, live out your day trying to pick out moments that build within you more joy, more confidence, more excitement. And it's something really important to understand. You have to set the bar low. There's no shame in that. There's no guilt in that. You have to set it low. And by setting the bar low, that could be as simple as getting up on time in the morning, setting an alarm. And when you get up in the morning, you do that for a couple days, you're going to feel good about yourself because you broke a pattern that you were doing for such a long time. Simply breaking the pattern itself will give you confidence because it's difficult to do for a lot of people. And so by breaking it, that's going to give you some sense of energy. And what happens? What happens then? You feel an emotion, right? Let's bring it back to the other page. You felt an emotion. You gave yourself something to change. You put an alarm in the morning to wake up every single day for the last week. What do you feel? You wake up in the morning, you realize to yourself, you know what? I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty powerful today. I'm feeling pretty confident, proud, and excited that I actually was able to do that. What does that do? What does that emotion do? It brings you up into the realm of thought. You start to think about it a little bit more. You start to remind yourself throughout the day. It just pops up. Now, at first, it's a muscle that's atrophied. You have to flex it. So it's going to feel a little bit tough to push. Think of it as like a weight. It's tough at first, but it will get stronger over time. You just have to stay consistent with it. And then once you start to notice that your thoughts are going to get better with that emotion. So you have the emotion, it brings it up to the thought, or the other way around. You think to yourself, I've been waking up consistently for the past week. And that's something I couldn't do for months now. All of a sudden, you feel good feelings. You feel encouraging feelings. And those, create a story. And then once you have your story, you begin to reflect on it, think about it, ruminate on it. And now, this once negative or discouraging foundation slowly will be broken down. However, whatever you've built needs to slowly be taken down. And so if you built a foundation of poor rumination, then you're going to have to slowly chip it away. You chip it away, chip it away, chip it away. And after a couple months of doing it, give yourself patience. I usually tell the clients I work with at least 3 months of consistent work. You're going to notice you've just been slashing them away. But what happens simultaneously, because it kind of works, both work at the same time. And what begins to happen is as you're tearing down the negative stories, you will at the same time begin to build positive stories. And as you begin to build the positive stories, when you look back at when you look back before you started, just when you started, you're going to go, wait a minute, my thoughts have been healthier. My stories have been cleaner and lighter and more encouraging. I almost can't even remember the last time I had bad thoughts. And that was actually one of my clients told me. You can actually go watch you can watch the testimonial on the website. And he was saying that, and he was clinically depressed. And then once we worked out the program, we ran through the method, within only a couple weeks, he went from feeling positive thoughts, emotions maybe once a week to now feeling it almost every day. Now he's a human being, you're going to have bad days. But for the most part, he was having so many positive emotions, so many positive stories, it was almost starting to overstack the negative. And that is what happens. That is what happens. You just have to repeat the right things. If you want way more detail on everything that I just went over and everything on my Rule of 3 method, just click the link down below. It'll send you over to my website, and you have 2 options from there. Number 1, you can join my newsletter where I'll send out free content on everything regarding my Rule of 3 method to help you figure out what it is that you want to do in life. Now, I can't promise you I'll give it to you, but what I can promise is I will give you the tools to see it, to see the opportunity to grab what it is that you're meant to do, or already build upon the vision you already have. Building your schedule, organizing your days, figuring out your thoughts, building a strong foundation of belief and confidence to actually make you feel sustained in it and to keep moving forward. So you can subscribe to the newsletter, or if you're just absolutely done with waiting, you cannot wait anymore and you want to make a change, you go all the way down to the bottom, you'll see an application form for one-on-one coaching. It is an absolute joy to work with you. It'll be my pleasure. So just fill out the form, I'll review it, and I'll get back to you guys.